Hello and welcome to episode 61 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we update GTNH to 2.7, the 10-year anniversary update. HamCorp is proud to announce that we made it onto the loading screen for this version. In this episode, we cover some of the important new features, including breaking changes to the platinum and bauxite processing lines. And we build a brand new multiblock, the Industrial Precision Lathe. Welcome to 2.7. There have been quite a few changes with this version of GTNH, and I imagine quite a few things around my base are now broken. I already know two things that are broken, one of them being the bauxite line. This bauxite slurry, whoa, that's cool, now goes into a fluid heater, not into the oil cracking unit. So this needs to be removed and replaced. And also this recipe, ruthenium tetroxide to hot ruthenium tetroxide, this also goes in a fluid heater instead of this oil cracking unit. So my bauxite and plat lines are broken. Luckily it's easy to fix, I just need to replace these with fluid heaters. I'll do that off camera, it's not particularly interesting. But another interesting change is now we have raw ores. So now when you mine an ore, you get raw ores. These look like items in newer versions of Minecraft, but to be honest, I haven't played a version of Minecraft newer than like 1.12 in a long time. So this is new to me, completely new to me. But this basically kind of standardizes the ores you get on different planets. So if I was on Mars and I mined magnetite ore, I would get exactly the same item. I wouldn't get a new item that was Mars textured. That's nice. Any pre-existing ore blocks that you have are also going to work perfectly fine. But now these raw ores go into ore processing as a starting point. It's basically the new ore block. Now these are named raw ore in the ore dictionary, so I might have to change some things in my ore processing to make this work. There's a few more interesting smaller changes before I get into multi-blocks, and I will get into multi-blocks. First of all, output buses can now be locked to an item. Obviously I'm not going to do that for this specific case, but that's a thing now. There's a new item, the infinite spray can. I have to make the dire crafting table, but once I have that, I think everything else here is pretty doable. Very expensive, but doable. And this is just a spray can with infinite paint and all 16 colors. The Vajra now has a quest. It's in IV tier, right here. So when I made this in a previous episode, I said, oh, there's no quest about this. Now there is. Looks like tinted glass doesn't instantly break when you punch it anymore, which is kind of nice because they broke a little bit too easily. By the way, while I'm here in the ore processing, if you want to fix your ore processing, all you have to do is go to this dictionary filter, the very first one, and change it from ore to raw ore, and that should fix it. Now let's talk about some multi-blocks. There are some new steam age multi-blocks. You've seen the steam grinder before, we used this. The steam squasher existed before, but I never made it. This is a multi-block steam age compressor. The steam separator. This is a centrifuge. The steam purifier, this is a washing plant. The steam presser is a forge hammer, and the steam blender is a mixer. And there's also the water pump. This is a water pump. So I'm not going to be making any of these because I'm well past the steam age, but I will say these multi-blocks look really cool. And I wish I started this playthrough after this came out. Anyway, there are more multi-blocks that are relevant to me based on where I am in the game. I'm in IV. So first of all, there's the Big Barrel Brewery. This is a multi-block brewery. I don't think I really need this right now, but it's cool that it exists. Here's the Turbo Can Pro. This is a multi-block canner / fluid canner. For me, right now, this is a little overkill. I don't see the point of this, but maybe in the future this will be more useful. We've got the large fluid extractor. This is nice. This is a parallelized fluid extraction. We've got the fluid shaper. This is a fluid solidifier multi-block. So this is also quite nice. We've got the large electric compressor. This is a multi-block compressor and it looks really cool. And this is a big one, the hyper intensity laser engraver. 200% faster than single block machines of the same voltage and uses 80% of the EU required. And it does parallels. So this is a high priority one for me. The Industrial Precision Lathe. This is probably my highest priority right now because whenever I'm making ME cables, the main time sink is turning Certus quartz into rods. So this lathe is extremely important to me. We also have the industrial autoclave. This is nice. I don't really think I'll make it yet, but I am going to make this. I'm going to make all of these eventually. And the magnetic flux exhibitor. This is, I think, a multi-block polarizer. And it's also a multi-block electromagnetic separator. I don't really use that block, so it's more of a polarizer to me. So there's a lot of multi-blocks I want to make. And originally, my plan for this episode was to get into Botania, but I'd rather do this. But don't worry, we will come back to Botania, we will come back to Witchery, and we will come back to Blood Magic. There are, of course, many more multi-blocks that have been introduced. Most of them are kind of late game additions, so I don't really know how that changes the late game, so I'm not going to comment on those. But there is a really nice video made by AdityaG. I'll put a link in the description. It's also linked in the announcement on the GTNH Discord, and it basically goes through all of the major changes in this update. There are many more changes beyond that video and beyond what I've talked about here. I haven't gone through the list. There's a lot. So I kind of have to reorient myself with what I want to do, because this has totally changed my plan for what I was going to do today. First off, I'm going to fix my bauxite and platinum lines, and then I'll start thinking about multi-blocks. I just finished fixing my bauxite and platinum lines, and I've been going through the quests, and there are a few new quests. You can find them yourself, but some notable ones. This one, NEI is even more powerful now. Read this. This is a bunch of very useful tips and tricks for NEI. A lot of this I've talked about before, but it was just never part of the quest book anywhere, but now I think this might be everything that you can do with NEI listed out. There's this quest, the Multiblock Revolution quest. It just explains what these different standard terminologies are when it comes to multi-blocks, like overclocking, perfect overclocking, parallelizing. I think I've mentioned those before, but you can read those again. The GT++ quest tab is now called Mass Processing. As you can see, a lot of these quests I've done before because we have already invested in multi-block machines. Here's the Steam Age ones. Like I said before, I'm not going to make these. Maybe I'll do it just to finish the quest, but I'm not going to be using these. There's also steel versions of these that are faster. I believe it's twice as fast, twice as many parallels. HV multi-blocks. This is a multi-block extractor dissection apparatus. TurboCAN I talked about before. In EV, we get the lathe, we get the compressor, and we get the fluid extractor. I mentioned those. In IV, we get the electromagnetic stuff. Implosion compressor, I didn't know about this. I think this existed before. I'm not really bottlenecked by implosion, so I don't need this yet. And these are all ones that we've seen before, mostly. And this tab, Megalomania, is about mega multi-blocks. These consume a lot of power. They have 256 parallels, so this is just a place to dump power. As for what I want to do right now, I've decided that my first course of action is going to be to make the industrial precision lathe and also figure out how this works. So I'm going to gather up all of these materials, also read this quest description, and then set this thing up. So for the precision lathe, you can choose a bunch of different item casings, and the tier of item casing you use determines the speed of the machine, and obviously the better material you use, the more parallels and the faster it goes. This is an important note that if you're making this as soon as you unlock it, if you use really shitty components at a low voltage, your processing speed can be slower than using a single block. That's obviously not going to happen for me because I've made platinum item pipe casings. In theory, I could make the osmium ones as well, or instead, but I don't have a lot of osmium, and I also don't really have the power to smelt 72 osmium ingots without having to micromanage it. So I decided to just settle for platinum. That's fine. Also, shaders. Shaders and a decent frame rate. Unbelievable. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but with 2.7, Angelica now has shader support. Limited shader support, but it also comes with complementary shaders. These, of course, you can tweak settings. I found that the default bloom was a little bit too strong, so I went into post-process, bloom settings, and I brought the bloom strength down to 0.4. Besides that, all other settings are at default. Yeah, I like how it looks, and this is very playable. Let me know if you want me to play with shaders or without. I'll keep them on for a little bit, just so you can see what it looks like. It looks so good. If you vote no, you're fired. This is a new feature. You can merge craft requests with existing craft requests for the same item. That is so cool. That is awesome. Here is another little quick tip. A lot of items that are kind of similar have been grouped together. So for example, the ME covered cables, the colored ones are all part of this one white covered cable entry in NEI. And if you alt click, it expands to show you all the different ones. That's nice. It's a lot less spammy when I search up covered cable, for example. Like, yeah, this is so much nicer. It used to be like this. So, good change. Anyway, it's time to put together the lathe. Though honestly, there's not really a lot of space here I think I'm gonna push this wall. Oh, I'm kind of constrained, huh? Okay, I'm constrained, but I can go out this way. Alright, I made a little bit more space. Honestly, this is not great. I don't like the way I've been expanding here. It's very kind of... It's not thought out. I've just been expanding where I can. So I think at some point I'm going to do a big overhaul of these and also decorate these. But I'm going to have to maybe make a new building for that. Or maybe I can repurpose this upstairs space once all of these machines are gone. But that's going to be a while because I don't think we get access to the multi-block assembling machine for a long time. So maybe some kind of expansion this way would be good. One that is much larger than what I have right now. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, I'm just gonna set up the lathe over here. Here's the lathe. Remember that there is kind of a parameter to this, the platinum core, so I did name it Multi-Lathe IV Platinum, just to be consistent. Now let's try this thing out. The tooltip now shows you that there's 14 max parallels and 150% speed, so this should be very fast. Also, don't say anything about these cables, I don't want to hear it. I know. Okay, I know. Now let's do a speed test. The regular lathe takes 6.1 seconds to process 1 Certus quartz. But this bad boy, I'm gonna put in a whole stack at once. 22 in 6.3 seconds. That is almost 22 times faster. Now honestly, not as fast as I expected it to go, but still really, really good. Nice, worth it, absolutely worth it. Now I do wanna make most of these multis, but like I said before, there's not really enough space in this building, so I need to do a nice large building expansion. This might be deserving of another skyscraper. But before I do that, I should probably deal with my power situation. I'm going to be making these multi-blocks at IV, and I'm not going to be able to power a lot of them at the same time. And I don't really know what power options are available next. I think I'm going to work with nuclear power. Now, I don't know a lot about nuclear power in this mod pack, to be honest. Or even in IC2. I never really got into nukes. So this is going to be quite a learning experience for me, which is not ideal considering the explosive consequences of making mistakes. But I know there's multiple types of nukes. There's like vacuum nukes, fluid nukes, and wrench-cooled nukes. What the fuck is happening? Warp, I guess. Anyway, I don't know a lot about nuclear power plants in this game, so I'm going to have to investigate this. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how to scale up power from here. Surely nuclear is the solution, but I don't know how. Luckily, there is a nuclear power quest line, and this one's my favorite quest line because it looks like the radioactive symbol. So I'm going to start here and then see how this works. Just clicking through some of these quests here, this is a lot more complex than IC2 nuclear stuff, which makes sense because IC2 nukes are like probably old enough to drive now. But that's going to have to be next episode, mostly because I'm just not prepared to do that at the moment. I was prepared to start doing Botania stuff, but now I kind of want to get back into tech. Thaumcraft hit me hard. So next episode, I'm going to start working on upgrading our power situation yet again. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will start working on nuclear power. HamCorp would like to issue a statement. You may have noticed that this episode was a little short. Also, the next episode or two may take some extra time to produce, as my other job, the one that pays the bills, has been quite busy lately. See you next time.